Hello everyone and welcome to this Future Net Zero Insight. Today I'm joined by James Higgins, Ecuity partner and founder, and Alex Goody, the chief executive of Gemserv. So hello guys.
Hi, how you doing?
Hi
Very
there,
well,
everyone.
thank you. How are you?
Yeah, good. It's a bit of a rubbish day out there with the weather-wise, but otherwise, another day working at home. But exciting times for the start of the 2021 for us, and that's what we want to talk about today, if that's okay.
Yeah, onwards and upwards hopefully this year, and
Yeah.
a bit better than 2020. How are you doing, James?
Absolutely. I'm hiding from a storm here at home, actually. It's very incredibly windy outside. But yeah, super excited really about the new collaboration that we formed with Alex and the Gemserv team. It felt we were able to announce earlier this week, and that really felt like the first day of 2021 for me. So yeah, no, great to be here.
And before we get more into the new announcement and everything that's going on there, I'll ask both of you to quickly introduce yourselves and just give a quick overview of what it is you and your business do. So Alex, if you want to go first.
Yeah, sure. I mean, I've spoken to Future Net Zero a number of times, but yeah, yeah. So Gemserv is an expert provider of professional services in a world driven by data and technology. We're purpose-led. We focus on a number of areas: energy, low carbon, public sector, and health. And within that, we're focusing on solving today's social and environmental challenges. So we're growing out our business. We've had some organic growth this year, and we've recently announced the acquisition of Ecuity Advisory to join us to really fuel our low carbon efforts. But we'll come on to that in a minute. Me, I'm the chief exec of Gemserv. I've been in role for two and a bit years now, but I've been with the company for about 8 years. I've got a background in insurance, technology, and the energy sector. So, but functionally, I've come from a business development background. So yeah, that's me. That's the company. Together, we will be 220 staff, about 30 million revenues. And we're growing still organically. We've got a number of vacancies in the business as well. We've got about 20 vacancies at the moment. So we're going through some growth, which is exciting, but daunting at the same time, because it's not clear yet, is it, how this is going to turn out this year. So, but we're thinking a bit further ahead than that.
And James, if you could just give a really brief introduction of what you do and what you hope to bring to the table.
Absolutely. So hi, I'm James. I'm one of the founders at Ecuity. And the team that we built over a number of years, over the last 8 years or so at Ecuity, is really specialized on the policy framework around low carbon. So we've got a real strength in energy in buildings, heat decarbonisation, energy efficiency, and so on. But also we work in transport and in networks and energy systems. But it's all about finding that niche, that spot between the world of the policymaker and the politician, businesses and the consumer. And we fit in the middle, and we help to connect the dots and try to create solutions for the low carbon transition that accelerate the transition to net zero through good policy design that works. And we've been going for about 8 years. We did some stats last year. We reckon we've worked with over 250 companies across the past 8 years and public sector organisations to help them understand the policy framework and get their voice heard. At least 50 different policy frameworks in the UK and internationally. So that's the sort of team that we pulled together. We've got economists, engineers, policymakers, and lobbyists. So quite a diverse team in a relatively small group of people, about 20 of us. We love what we do. We're passionate about what we do, and as we'll get onto, we think the connection and joining forces with Alex and the Gemserv team really is going to be quite exciting, work well for us. About me personally, so I mentioned I'm one of the founders at Ecuity 8 years ago. My interest is in politics and energy. Always been interested in that space, worked in that area. I did used to work for the civil service. I worked for Ofwat, the water regulator. So some people have called me sort of poacher Sorry, gamekeeper turned poacher, should I say? But that was feels quite a long time ago now that I was in the water sector, in the civil service. Most of my career has been spent in that low carbon energy space, and I've got the scars to prove it, from anything from renewable heat incentive to Green Deal to you name it, we've been involved in it.
Great, and thank you both for the overview there. So let's find out more about the actual announcement that you've made. So Alex, Gemserv's made this acquisition at a time when a lot of companies are tightening their purse strings, really. You mentioned it was a bit of a daunting time there yourself. So this must have been an important move for you. What do you hope to achieve with it, in simple terms?
So we were buoyed up by the government announcing around the green recovery and the 10-point plan. We could see coming out of that, leading up to COP26 this year, a number of important policy interventions that will need to happen. And we've been chatting to James and the team for some time, that our skills, capabilities coming together can really make a difference in helping the government and industry get to net zero. So that's why we've come together. So it's much longer than COVID. It's a bigger threat. Climate change is massive, and we hope that we can make a difference in our way to this landscape and deliver effective programs for private sector and for government to get to net zero. So yeah, that's why we're doing it. And we already work together, so it's not like this is brand new. So we're currently working with Ecuity on the heat networks implementation program, where we're combining with our partners on that consortium private money with public money to invest in heat network schemes. A good example of using money that's out there to prime new markets. And we will have to do more of that. The government's made a big, for instance, in heat pumps, which James is much closer to than I am, but the government ambition for heat pumps is to get to 600,000 implemented per year by 2028. That's a huge step change from where we are now. So there were lots of things we'll need to change to make that happen, to make that a real choice for those people whose boilers break. Mine broke actually just before Christmas, and I looked at heat pumps, and it wasn't as straightforward in my own personal circumstances. There are challenges there to doing it, and what we want to do is help solve those particular problems to make that a reality, that heat pumps is a real choice alongside others for heating your home or your commercial building.
And I don't want to get too hung up on everything that's happened, but it's impossible to avoid it to a certain extent. Do you think it's sharpened the focus on net zero, or has it delayed things? Are you concerned about that, or are you more ambitious than you were before? And I suppose that question goes out to both of you.
I'm happy to pick this one up. I mean, I think, of course, public health has to take a priority, particularly where the time we're recording this interview, we know the NHS is under incredible pressure, and incredible, so much admiration for the work that is taking place. So public health, understandably, is at the forefront of everybody's minds at the moment. However, it's also important that we look forward and try to plot what our society is going to look like, what our economy is going to look like. Hopefully, and as soon as we're able to move beyond the current pandemic situation. So for me, I think that there's been some big changes, and I think particularly commercial organisations, but also public sector bodies. I think it was already a bit more prevalent in public sector bodies than in the commercial world, but the two do sort of go hand in hand, and that's really understanding that the roles that individual organisations actually play in society. So if you're a manufacturer, we do more than just make products for our customers and make a return on investment. Actually, many of the manufacturers have offered help to government, things like ventilators, help to NHS personnel who might be in need. So there's been incredible efforts from public and corporate organisations across the pandemic, and I think that translates into action on climate. If you're going to be a good corporate citizen, if you're going to be an organisation that makes a difference, then actually understanding what's happening in terms of tackling climate change and contributing to net zero having that that sort of plan of how you're going to behave moving forwards has become even more important as an internal piece, so with the people who work in your organization, but also looking to your external stakeholders, your customers, and so on. So I only see that accelerating.
Yeah, I just to reiterate that, I think, obviously some things have been delayed due to COVID, right? So they're in the same, I think, so a lot of the meetings and the committees and things like that, they've been delayed because of this. But I actually think because of the group perspective of coming together to solve the COVID crisis, but going beyond the individual, which is, coming back to James's fascination with politics, is prevalent in Western economies. This is focus on the individual. This is about the collective. This is about society as a whole. And we will need that sort of attitude if we are to make a difference with climate change. It can't be about the individual. It has to be about society. It has to be taking the long view to solve these challenges. And we are, like I said, we are working with organizations, be they predominantly for profit or really, social enterprises, purpose-led. They're all coming together to solve this, because this is the crisis of our time. That we need to come together on.
Yeah, and it seems there is no better time really than to, the role for environmental consultancy on one side, in terms of now businesses are looking at their bottom line. So as we know, energy saving also does mean money saving, and it can help the bottom line of businesses that might be struggling right now. And obviously at the same time, this period has kind of let the whole of society really reevaluate where we are and kind of set new targets going forwards, like the green reset and the green recovery we've heard so much about. So it seems to me that for kind of environmental consultancy and these digital solutions to energy and sustainability issues to be married together at this time is great timing.
Yeah. I mean, that's what's driving this. And when we discuss this at a board, and we've been talking to our shareholders about this, they see this as a crucial area for us to get involved in, and exactly the right place for us to be, given our commitment to solving social environmental challenges. So that's why we've done it, and that's why we wanted some scale, so we can pick up projects across the piece on this one and really make a difference. So the Ecuity clients are making an incredible difference to the British economy, but also to solving the challenges within this. I mean, it's not just about heat pumps, but it's also about more generally in the home, about energy efficiency in buildings. There's lots of really interesting solutions out there. So some of them are very traditional, very old. They just need a market push, the right regulatory environment to roll out, to deliver the products. Others are brand new and solve challenges, and they again need the right environment, business environment to go forward with that. And that's where we can help.
Do you think the environments, in terms of both regulation and the business environment, are moving in the right direction now?
I think one of the things that's been remarkable during the course of my career in low carbons has been the ebbs and flows of political enthusiasm and societal interest in the subject that we're also passionate about. And for me, there's never been a point, certainly during my career, in which the political commitment and the ambition has been greater in the UK and to an extent internationally for action on climate change. But so that's fantastic. It's great to see green recovery in the Chancellor's speech. It's great to see that the Prime Minister did a 10-point plan just before Christmas for the green recovery. The intent is there, and to some extent the budget is there. But for me, it's absolutely crucial that we get the policy and regulatory frameworks right, so that when that whether it's funding or could be a regulatory stick at times, when that is directed into the products and services we need to combat, that it's done so in a way that works in partnership with industry, works in partnership with consumers, so that it works. And that's really one of the things that we specialize in at Ecuity, and we hope to do much more of. You've got emerging markets such as hydrogen, for example, where the government has set out an intent to introduce a production incentive next year. The way in which that production incentive is introduced, developed, and then ultimately administered is critically important for the growth of that sector. And those are the sorts of topics that I think, working with Alex, we want to be involved in, to help first of all shape it, get it right, but then make sure it's delivered on the ground in the right way. And there are lots of this. It's very easy to get it wrong. It's hard to get it right. So that's where we'll be sort of devoting our efforts and doing all that we can.
And there's no silver bullets to this, right? So we need lots of these solutions. Hydrogen solves part of the problem for sure, but it's not the only solution out there. And we're coming off the back of this. If we look back a few years, the UK has been very successful in this space, investing in renewable energy and really making a difference to drive out the carbon in the electricity that we generate. We need to continue on that vein, but it's going to move towards heat and transport. They're the next big, the frontier that needs to be conquered next.
Yeah, well, they're the difficult ones to overcome, aren't they, really? Because I think in a lot of other areas, there are solutions that obviously do have their own hurdles as well, but they're progressing at pace, where, like you say, there are no silver bullets, especially for heat and transport, it seems.
Yeah, I mean, exactly that. There's no silver bullets. We need lots of options on the table. Those markets don't exist yet. The regulatory frameworks are not right for that, and this is the time to bring in that right structure. Private money will come in, but it needs comfort that it can get returns on investment. That might be a good route. Public money is very cheap as well. In terms of borrowing, that might be another route to get this moving as well. And lots of jobs will be created, and high value jobs at that, off the back of doing the right thing here.
Yeah, and on that topic, as we move forwards and wider society move forwards, things are going to pick up as we near COP in November, aren't they, as well? How do you think that's going to change things after that? Is that going to be a paradigm shift, or have we just got to keep kind of trucking along, keeping our momentum?
I think this really plays. I think the timing of COP, of course, we all wish for it and hoped it had happened. We've already been in a post-COP conversation, of course, with the delay for a year. I think that actually gives, taking a very UK-centric perspective, I think it gives us an opportunity as a country to really set out our leadership on climate-related issues. And you can already see how that's impacting the public debate. There's a debate in the media this week about a coal mine. It's actually for coking coal for steel plants rather than for power stations, but already decisions which UK government ministers are taking, they are being sort of contrasted against those commitments, and you can see how those commitments that we're making and that we're the place that we seek on the international stage through COP26 and beyond will inform the way in which our politics works in the future in this area. So for me, I think it's a permanent
potential use for hydrogen there, isn't it? As instead of coking coal for steel plants and industry, hydrogen could fill that gap.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think you're right. I think it creates the space for us to look at every area of the economy where we need to reduce emissions and put those solutions forwards and say, why can't we accelerate those faster than we have been doing today? And that's really exciting. I think there's if we can create that role for the UK, and this really isn't my job, we're not politicians, but if we can create that voice for the UK as a global leader on climate change, action and green technology, then that certainly as a citizen something that I think is incredibly attractive, and I think is the right way for us to be going.
You'd agree with that, Alex, I assume?
Absolutely, yeah. Totally, yeah. The great thing about my job is that what we do at Gemserv is my personal beliefs and what I do in my own private life. So it's a very small example. I mean, Gemserv is carbon neutral. Team Goody household is carbon neutral as well. So it's something that I hold true to, and it's great to be able to do that for a living as well.
I didn't know that about. I didn't know that your family were carbon neutral. I think we'll have to schedule another interview in the future.
There'll They're vegetarians. It's a bit easier.
Working from home, I'm sure, has changed the balance of things somewhat.
It has, but I mean, we use offsets for flights, so we're not. I mean, I know some people in the industry don't fly at all now, and we haven't got to that point. But but it's it's something that I feel strongly about, and I've done for myself, and it's something I felt strongly about for Gemserv, and we've been carbon neutral since 2018. We'll have to change that slightly to make sure that the Ecuity acquisition is also carbon neutral. But yeah, that's an important part of what we do. And we do a lot of travel, actually, because we provide consultancy services around the world. So that, it's important for us to encourage our staff when they travel to use, low carbon means. We actually encourage staff when they go on holiday, they get an extra day's holiday if they manage to get there without flying, which we brought it in, and then COVID hit. So it's not really been tested in anger yet, but we're gonna stick with it. I think it's a good thing to do.
Time will tell on that one then.
Yes, indeed. I think it'll be fine. I think it's trying to encourage people to use the train when they're traveling, which I do anyway. Actually, I prefer that.
I think people are becoming more aware of it, to be honest. And I've got the same kind of feelings you have, in that this is my career, but it's my career because I'm interested in it on a personal level. And obviously, again, coronavirus has got in the way of it. But before that happened, I was noticing in the pub more and more, my friends would be talking about environmental and sustainability issues, which was something that had never happened before. My parents now are talking about it more, and it's just becoming more of a conversation in society. I think every month that goes by.
If you look at the priorities for the incoming President Biden, climate change is right up there, and so it is. This is mainstream, top of mind subject matter now. This is
Yeah,
it's not in fringe anymore, that's for sure.
I think one of the challenges for us as we think about this, I mean, I'm not done the audit for carbon neutral. I won't claim to be on this call, but I'm a bit of a techie. I'm interested. I had an electric vehicle, but don't hardly use a car these days. But we had an electric vehicle before it was kind of very common. Smart thermostat, smart meter.
You're an early adopter.
Yeah, looking at getting a heat pump. Green Homes grant voucher being installed. I'm having some underfloor insulation installed next week. So I love all this stuff. But actually, what I think is really important when we look at action on low carbon is, how do we take the late majority, I think is the right terminology. How do we take the people who aren't really interested in it and never going to be interested in it? How do we take those people with us? And then also, of course, crucially, how do we address and how do we support the people who might be negatively affected by the action we take? And there's a couple of reports. We did a really interesting report last year for the Local Government Association, looking at the potential of green jobs, and there's some amazing numbers in there, over 1 million green jobs that could be created as part of our transition. But there's also a flip side, and there's some coverage in the media recently about the loss of employment in some of the areas of, particularly in the Midlands, but also Northeast and Northwest, as we transition to a low carbon economy. And we've got to find a way of joining those two things up so that we're creating jobs that people who might be, actually potentially at risk from some of the actions we're taking can move into. I find that very, very interesting. So yes, at the one hand, there's the green adopters and the techies passionately going for it, but we've got to make this as inclusive as possible.
I think that's crucial, James. To take your people with us, with society on this, because otherwise what will happen is that MPs with seats that are impacted by people losing jobs will slow things down and vote against things, and we won't get the traction that we need, because there's going to be some hard decisions to make in the future. The spend on COVID is nothing compared to what we need to spend to get to net zero. So there's a lot of things that we need to change, but it's been set over a long period of time. There's enough time to change people's minds, enough time to work with people, and to, as James says, bring people along on that journey. So make sure that the jobs that are being created are going to the people and retraining those people to get those new jobs that are being created.
So I suppose a good place to wrap up really is to ask, you're going to be working together from now on very closely. what are your immediate plans in terms of tackling this problem of climate change, which is, like you say, an even more existential threat than coronavirus? That sounds kind of controversial to say at the moment, but it shouldn't be, should it?
Well, I think it is. I think you're right. It is an existential threat. The climate change. In terms of immediate things we're working on, we've got a number of projects that we've got underway. We've got some interesting areas we're working on in hydrogen and heat pumps. And electric vehicles, actually, around charging point infrastructure. So there's a whole range of different things that we'll be working on. The team's pretty big on this, so there's a lot we can do and we'll be taking on as we go forwards. In terms of working closely, I've met James a few times now, but we're actually quite some distance away from each other because I'm in Surrey and he's up in Birmingham. But once we can catch up again, we'll be working in the same office. So. Trying tackling these challenges as they come up.
Great. Well, I look forward to seeing what you come up with, and I look forward even more to once coronavirus calms down a bit and we can all leave our homes again, coming out to talk with you both in person. And
absolutely,
yeah, that'd be great.